Hey there folks, thanks for joining us on another Little Knights review. Today we're having a look at Talisman, Legendary Tales. This is a cooperative family game and it's designed by Michael Palm and published by Pegasus Spiel. And also Lucas Zach. Alright, so with me to help with this review I have my family, Alex, Carla,
hello,
Nathan,
Annoy Alex and also subscribe to him.
and myself, Jason. Alright, so what we're doing here, we're cooperatively ventures in a pub, or at least depending on the venture manual. We're going to be going on an adventure, trying to find upgrades and treasures to increase our bag, because this is effectively a bag building game, but I'll get to that in a minute. And each adventure will give us a certain amount of objectives to do. Once we've completed that objectives, depending on the level we've set it to, so for example in this situation we're going to go full out hard level here, but you can either do it normal or easy, and this is the time level. This all makes sense during the gameplay section. This tells you what we're trying to achieve, and that'll basically drive us forward on these tiles. These maps are set out, depicted on the adventure book, and they are single-sided tiles, so for example that's the back like that. And they can be orientated depending on how they want it to. And then each scenario will have a section of tiles, these little tokens, with enemies on the back, treasures, objectives, things like that, which they'll tell us where to put it. It's kind of randomly done, but they'll say, for example, take out these 11 tiles, shuffle them up, place them on these positions. Once you've done that, the other components you have is movement dice and your standees. And then it goes from there. We basically take our turn, starting with the first player. You roll the die and move that many spaces. If you come to an encounter, you can flip it over and fight it. That's when you draw tokens out of your bag. Each of us starts with 7 tokens, and we have, is it 7?
Yeah, it's 7 tokens.
And this shows you your character's ability and the various tokens in your bag. So I've got 1 melee damage, 3 magic damage. I got 2 time and 1 draw bag. And then my ability is, if you draw a token which makes you move the time counter forward, you may also use this token as a melee or a magic. That's pretty good. And they're both male and female sides, and so are the tokens in the bag. I'm not going to take it out now, but I'll show you during the gameplay. Each of us is playing a character. Who are you playing, Nathan?
The warrior.
And you, Carla?
I'm playing the wizard.
And you, Alex?
The elf.
And then there's a couple more characters that we're not using, which is the dwarf.
And the troll.
That's right. The dwarf and the troll. So, I think that's generally what's happening. Shall we get Carla to read us the mission and tell us what our objectives are? Go on then, Carla.
Yay!
Okay, so the first thing to remember with this is there's an overall story. So we are hunting for talismans. We are warriors recruited to find them. I'm not going to go into all of that, but there is a bit of a blurb that basically tells you why you're looking for these 5 talismans. There are essentially 5 campaigns, and we are just going to take you through the first one, which is the simplest, trying not to spoil what else is coming along. So Adventure 1 is the Curse of the Fairies. Chapter 1 is the Alchemist. So that there is the little player board.
Yay!
And essentially we need to make it before nightfall. If we don't make it before nightfall, essentially we lose. The theory is that at nightfall all the bad things come out and we get taken down. So the Alchemist. You begin your adventure after finding a friendly alchemist who lives in a hovel close to the forest edge. He's worried because an evil wizard has placed a curse on the fairy folk nearby, forcing them to steal a talisman for him. The alchemist offers to brew a magic potion that will release the fairies from the wizard's curse. However, first he needs 3 herbs that grow somewhere nearby. Your task is to find 3 herb tokens for the alchemist. Once you have found an herb token, there are no enemies present in the location, you may place the token in one of the spaces. So essentially we know roughly what they are going to look like. They're somewhere over there. And once we have all 3, we can move on to the next section. One of us needs to return to the hovel and present them to the alchemist, and hopefully he will then be able to brew us the potion.
Yay!
Just to the other side of this scroll is the second part of the adventure. So each adventure is divided into 2 parts.
Yee!
And we don't read any of the rest of the scroll. It basically specifically says once we have returned those to the alchemist, it then says now turn over the adventure, and then you continue.
Okay.
So we don't know what's going to happen next until it happens.
All right, let's get started.
3, 6.
All right, so we're going to go straight from the get-go so you can see exactly how it starts. Nathan, as the youngest player, will start. First thing you've got to do is roll the die. What did you get? So move it so you can see the camera. You've rolled.
He's rolled a 1.
I will fly to the cave.
Okay.
All right, so obviously it's connected by a path. He's going to
And I
encounter.
have found a rat to squish.
So
Okay.
this shows you. This is an encounter. It requires 1 melee strength to defeat it, and if you defeat it, you get a treasure. It doesn't show that there, but every time you defeat a villain, unless it specifically states, you get a treasure.
Put the time down.
Well, first thing you do is draw 3 tokens from your bag. So at the moment, these symbols mean.
Oh.
Well, he's got
So-
1 more draw.
Nathan has drawn a time, which means the timer moves down. But he gets an extra token. So there is his 3, and 4. She's got 2 time. And then that allows him to draw either from his own bag or from a companion's bag an additional token,
Which he chose to draw from his own.
which he chose to draw. Don't draw any more because you've got what you need.
I know.
Okay.
What's in my bag? There's only 2 more.
Well, you can look at your bag now that you've finished. You can look at your bag at any point before or after a draw. There's no limit there, and you can decide when to refill your bag.
There's a sword and a plus.
So he can see what's there.
And magic.
Okay,
That's
so
it.
put those back into your bag. And you have defeated.
The rats. So, but unfortunately, the time has moved on. So it took him a long time to beat those rats. So as you can see, we moved on from 4 to 6.
Yeah, it's only 1 rat because it bit my shoe.
Okay, so, but you did defeat some giant
you
rats. So you get...
I told him.
I go lance.
Okay, and what does the lance do? Let's put it down
It
so we
gives
can
me
show.
a sword and a pick bag thing. I'm a thief now.
Okay, so you have a choice now. You can either pass on the lance to one of your companions or you can keep it for yourself. Who do you think it's better for?
I think it's good for me.
Okay, then you put the lance in your bag. The others stay out until you decide to put it back
Actually,
in.
I think it's good for you because then we'll be all equal. Because I think Dad has 2 swords.
I got 1 sword. What is that? A sword?
I've also got 1 sword.
I got 1 sword and 3 magic. But if I draw time tokens, I can use them as either sword or magic.
And with me, if I draw something that doesn't have a magic token on, I can put it back and redraw. So it might be...
So you're going to keep it, yeah, Nathan?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, and that ends your turn. So now it goes to me. So my turn. I roll the die. Oh, so this one, I've got 4 movements, but it also moves the time on. So I can move very far. Which way did you want to go, Alex? Did you want to go up towards the graveyard, or should I go up towards the graveyard?
Depends I think you should go this way.
So I'll go
'cause you
towards...
got more
You're
movement.
So-
walking to town.
Yep, so I'm going to go 1 to the... Oh, the rats are dead. 1, 2 to the tavern, 3 to the castle. Now, I could stop there if I wanted to and engage these 2. Or because they're face down, I haven't encountered them, I can move on to the Cursed Glade. But obviously, I'm in the middle of encounters there. So instead, I'm just going to stop there.
Stop there because there might be 2 of those leaf things.
Yes, you
And
are.
if there is, yay!
So I have found a tiny dragon
Noise.
and a crow. I thought it said a cow. So those are just nice, simple little things to beat. But
Crows are cows.
but there's no herbs there, so that means the herbs are somewhere else. So let's see. I'm going to draw 3 tiles out the bag. First one is going to be a time. Oh dear.
That's you can use that as well
Yeah.
if you want there. Is it 1 string a time though?
A sword
So that's what you need.
and a magic. Wow.
Okay.
That's interesting. So I could, as my ability is, when if you draw a token with makes you move the time counter forward, you may also use this token as a melee or a magic. As it happens, I don't need it because I drew exactly the melee and the magic to defeat both of these. Don't mess with me.
It's
So-
the
Unfortunately, it says you
sword.
can also use, so it still moves the time on.
Oh yes, it does. Yeah.
Yeah, I've
Did
already
you-
done it.
Okay.
Where's the treasure bag? Over here. So I defeated 2 enemies that turn, which means I get 2 treasures. Ooh, I hope I get something good.
Goatee.
I found a mercenary, which is pretty good. I might keep that one. And
Did you
then
find a mercenary with a crow and a tiny dragon?
I found him in a bag. And a maiden. Right, which one of you is not a mercenary and a maiden just walking down the road? And I'm like, hey fellas, you want to join our party? Alright, who's got the least amount of magic here? It's you, Nathan.
It's me on it.
Yeah.
We both got.
No, we've all got 2. I've
You
got
got
3,
three, I've
so
got
magic
3.
is not ideal for me.
Alright, so I'm gonna take the mercenary because it's a good draw and a sword, and I don't have a lot of swords. Although my time things are pretty good.
I'll take a draw and a magic.
Alright.
Because I can use magic as a sword.
There you go. There you go. You can put that in your bag, and then these will just go over here, and then it goes over to your turn. So first thing you do, roll them bones.
My ability is useless.
1.
My ability
That's
is
useless.
useless.
No, your ability's pretty good.
So of course, just to point out that as you build the tiles, there are routes. So for instance, he can't go to here because there's no direct route leading there. So just you have to follow the
Basically,
roads.
what my ability is saying is if I
Oh.
draw
Go up to
a
the
sword
graveyard.
and a draw, I can use it as just
Go up
a
to
sword.
here, and then I'll go this
Uh,
way.
Okay. You sure?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm going to go to the graveyard, and I have found a bat
A
Fitting.
batty.
and a herb. So, but I can't pick up the herb until I have defeated the bat.
I'm surprised any plants can live there.
Not in a graveyard.
Hmm.
Ironically,
all the people have been fertilizing the ground there.
Fertilize.
Okay, so-
Da-na-na-na.
well, I have already beat him, but unfortunately, I do have to draw all 3.
Oh, the time. We're getting killed here.
Yeah, we are.
So Alex has moved on
What
the
if
time.
she drew 3
So
magic?
the bat is defeated.
And we've
There's a
got
treasure bag.
Oh.
You see, we're already up to 10 time. Obviously, we started on the hard difficulty, which starts us at 4 time already. We could have started on easy.
Okay.
But the way the campaign progresses, you need to unlock a certain amount of stars, as you notice the stars above the difficulty levels. So, for example, if you want to get to the 5th mission, you need 10 stars.
For instance, we need at least 1 star. No, ignore that. You didn't see that.
Yeah.
But the 5th
Okay.
mission needs
You
10
didn't see
stars.
that.
What is it? For instance, the 3rd mission, you need...
Don't
Those,
knock.
those are all the backsides.
Okay, never mind. Well, there is a little symbol at the top that basically tells you how many stars you need to be able to progress to the following mission. So you might be required to replay another mission to add extra, talisman stars.
So say.
So I've drawn a wand, which allows me to either take away or add. No, take away. That's
It
moved.
was on 10.
Okay. To either take away a time or restore a time, I guess, or use it as a magic. So I'm going to keep that.
That goes into your bag, not with
Oh
those.
yeah, of course it does. Apologies.
But we also get the herbs. And the herbs.
It was on 8.
So the herbs go there. We need 2 more. Right, Nathan, it's over to you.
Okay.
What do you got? Mate, come on.
No, roll properly, please. Okay.
A 1.
You can't go
Yay.
anywhere with that.
You guys are being really slow today.
Yes. Go to the tavern or the hovel. Your choice. I s-
Maybe go to the hovel.
Wee.
It might-
There's more stuff over here, and you'll be closer to the side.
It's our spawning points. We might need to go there later.
There's a teleport on the dice as well. So it means you can traverse long distances in a single bound, just like Superman.
Okay.
Superman.
Right,
Nathan?
my turn.
Please stop it.
Hey, in fact, talking about the teleport, I get it right there.
Go there.
I'm going to teleport to the ruins.
Why?
Alright, so I will indeed teleport to the fairy pool. Reveal what I got there, Alex.
You got no herbs.
So there's no
So,
herbs on this side of the garden.
You've got the Servant of Darkness and the Wild Boar. So, you know.
And they
no-
both require swords. Now, just to show you something, obviously, I've removed these 3 discs from my last battle. There was my one sword, which, as you can see from my starting tiles, I only had one sword. So, my starting tiles, I didn't have any swords in here. But I did draw that Barbarian, which went in here, which allowed me to get another sword. A sword and another thing. So, I could choose here. Do I want to...
You can take your tokens out and look
Yeah,
before
but
you do that.
I like to go on memory. So I do have some options here. I have option A is I can put my tiles back in the bag and just then, because then it'll give me my sword back as well as the time which I can use as swords. So the chances of me defeating these are pretty good if I do that, but I will then be pushing on the time. If I choose not to add these to my bag, I'm obviously restricting my chances of drawing swords, but I don't have to defeat them. They're just extra treasures. Our main objective is to find the weeds.
Dad,
Yeah.
if you do draw from your bag there, you can most likely kill it. Because you can use the time of whatever you want, and then also you can draw some from someone else's bag. You can draw from your own because you have a plus on the time, and then you have a magic to do it as well.
Okay, well, I'm going to take your word for it, and I'm going to do that. Alright, so I've only got 5 tiles, actually, because I've added one to it.
Oh.
So, I've got 2 magic so far, and you guys can't see that. I'll bring it down a bit. So, I've drawn 2 magic hats, which is good odds for this bag. And then, so I've drawn my move the time forward one and draw another one out of your bag, which will be draw another one out of the bag. From anyone's bag, this is. So, let's have a quick look. At this point, I can use both of those to defeat whatever that is, the Servant of Darkness. So, I have defeated at least one enemy. This is no good because I need 2 swords. So, even if I use this to draw out of my bag, which I know the last tile in there is the Mercenary, which is 1 sword and draw again from the same bag, and there's no other tiles in there, so that's not going to do me any good. And I know no one else has double sword because we haven't drawn that yet. So I don't have to use this, and I'm probably not gonna. What do you guys think?
What, the extra draw?
Yeah.
So you've got enough...
You draw from reset Nathan's and draw.
I could do, but it's a high risk to draw more time to potentially defeat something we don't need to defeat.
Okay, well,
Okay.
you've destroyed one of them anyway, and you can
Yeah.
move away from there if you want to. So
Alright, so one of us has to be at the fairy pool in the next mission, I believe it said. So the Servant of Darkness has been...
No, it did not.
Didn't it say at the end there? One of us had to be at the fairy pool?
Yeah, it did. It said once all the things are there, you go to the fair.
I found a healer who reduces the time and allows you to draw another one from the bag. I quite like that for me because of my time ability to use the time. I can then, this combination allows me to basically make more swords and magic.
We're finding a lot of people.
Yes, this town is very busy.
Just over there.
How is that very busy? It's literally just grass, water,
They're free.
and trees.
Where would you
That's
like to
all
go?
it is.
There.
Okay.
Flip that. Herb. Flip
And
that.
herbs again. Herbs! Ha ha!
Oh, that was lucky.
Yes!
Okay, so we found all 3 herbs.
And Dad, is that for fairy pool?
We right, and then we need. While Alex is straightening the herbs,
He's OCD.
it says once we have collected all 3 herb tokens, one of you must return to the alchemist's hovel to complete the task.
Which
Now,
Nathan's there.
incidentally, Nathan is already at the hovel because he could only move 1 in his previous turn and chose to move towards the other tokens, and so he's already there. So we've already met that. So now we can move on. So it says the alchemist is thrilled when you provide him with the herbs, and immediately brews the magic potion to release the fairies from the curse. Now turn the adventure scroll over and place the time counter on the space and the space with the same number. So we are on 11, so we will start on 11 on the other side. Then continue reading.
Okay, but I don't think we're going to show you that because we don't want to spoil any more for you. This is
Oh,
the
by
first.
the way, Alex, Mom triggered your OCD. It's not straight.
Alright, I've taken the mickey out of Alex. Alright, so that is the first half of the mission done. There's obviously the second half with some more things to do. The map will be the same, but any tokens we didn't reveal or that were revealed will stay here, and we'll get a new bunch of tokens. I'm not going to show you to them, but I just want to show you that there are components for it. New bunch of tokens that were separated out at the beginning. They'll get added to the map, and obviously we get to keep our treasures that we've found so far for this mission. But once we've completed the entire adventure, our bags will be reset back to our starting 7 for the next adventure.
Yeah, just to reiterate that. So we get to keep it for the second half of the same adventure, but we don't get to keep the treasures throughout
The whole campaign.
This campaign.
Yeah.
It's just for that first bit.
But we were pretty lucky there. What do you guys think? Well, we'll get to that in the verdict. Yeah, so let's finish this off. We're going to stop filming the gameplay, but we'll finish off the game and then come back to you guys with our thoughts. Alright, so this is time for the verdict. We've completed our second part of the mission. So, just to note, if you don't want to hear anything about this second part of the mission, if you felt like the gameplay was enough to convince you to get the game, then you can stop here and don't go any further, because we will be talking about some of the stuff that happened in the second half of the game. But if possibly if you skip 2 or 3 minutes ahead, we might not be talking about it then. But I just wanted to mention some of the stuff that happened in this game.
Yeah. Just to say, the first half of the game was pretty much roll, move, fight. The second half of the game introduces an interesting mechanic that shows you where to go and how it leads on the board. It's interesting. It's not mind-shattering or anything, but there is a little bit more to the game than what was shown in the gameplay section.
Yeah. So this is what we're going to show you. So going down to the board so you can have a look. What the mission told us was that obviously we had another set of tokens which we shuffled in. There was fairies, and these were the fairy tokens. This is the one that was removed, which is a little butterfly, but you can see there's a fairy at the top of it. The other 3 that we found were the mushroom one, the tulip one, and this little crystal one. Now you might think, well, what has that got to do with fairies? Not a lot, maybe, but the tiles themselves have artwork on them, and once we'd found the fairies and defeated the enemies that were pursuing them, it then tells us to look at the map and find the tile that has the 3 pictures on. So for example, like this one's got a butterfly on and it's got the crystal on, but it doesn't have the mushroom, so it's not this one. So that's how you kind of look for where the location's going to be. So depending on the 3 objects you got, and depending on the scenario you're playing, it could be a different location each time. As it happened, we had to travel to the temple because it had the mushroom, the tulip, and the... What was the other thing we had?
Mushroom, tulip, and crystal.
Crystal, that was it.
Or flower, not tulip. Very specific. Are you sure it's a tulip?
No, I'm not sure at all.
Also, just to say that obviously we are administering the potion to the fairies. So we had to go find the fairies. We administered the potion, and they were so grateful that they told us where they had hidden the talisman, which was the location where all 3 of those symbols, which happened to have been the temple.
Which is very clever. And then once we had found the fairies, it then tells us to go to that location and defeat the enemies there. And then once we've done that, we got the talisman, which Alex is showing us here. We have succeeded in 3-star difficulty. Whoo-wee, it was squeaky bum time right at the end there. So we got up to 13 times. We were actually at 14. And when we looked into Carla's bag, she had just enough to defeat one of the enemies, but it would take us to 15. So we decided to push our luck, put all the tokens back in the bag, and it turned out she drew exactly what she needed. The perfect draw, almost like she was cheating. And it pushed the time back 1 and defeated the enemy, which was awesome, which gave just enough time for Nathan to run in and smash up the last villain to get victory for...
It's just like last time we did it. Alex was standing there, needed help. Then I swooped in with a portal and smashed the guys.
All right, and then last but not least, you can see what the contents of my bag looked like. As you can see, I had three upgrades, 3 treasures. All 3 of them really good. The other guys had a spread of 2 or 3 upgrades either, except for Carlo, who only had 1, I think.
I had 2 by the end. You gave me.
I gave you one pity
Yeah.
one, pity
you
one.
You
at
gave
the
me a
end.
pity one. Actually, I'm not sure you get. Oh no, it's still in the bag. That's why.
And in my bag, it's just blank.
Yeah,
That's
Nathan, on the other hand, was hoarding the.
His character's special ability is this tile, which is interesting. He doesn't actually have a special ability. He's just, his starting tile is different to the rest of us. Ours is just the sword, where his is a sword and a draw. And he always tends to get a load of draws, so he ends up drawing half his bag every time he has a fight, which is really good.
Yeah.
And also really bad.
Yeah, because of the time. Alright, so that's a little chat about how this mission went, and obviously that we succeeded. So let's have a chat about what we thought about the game, pros and cons, etc. And I don't think we'll be spoiling too much at this point onwards. So, Carla, what did you think of Talisman Legendary Tales?
So Talisman Legendary Tales specifically is very much geared up for kids. It's a family weight game. It plays in such a way that children can comfortably play this, and also non-gamers could comfortably play this without, any serious distress, I guess. I like it. I think the tiles are lovely. It is just these tiles. So I guess variety is maybe a little bit limited, but we've played 3 missions?
Yeah.
3 missions so far.
We've played 3 adventures, but
3
we've played
adventures.
two of those adventures twice.
Yes.
So technically we've played this 5 or 6 times already.
Yeah, well, we've played quite a few times, so we've seen the setup differently each time, and actually, as you can see, the board is kind of a weird shape. Things get rejuggled, and the tokens for the different adventures, there's different color schemes. So the first one is blue, the next one I think is green, and so forth.
Red.
Is it red?
It's blue, red, and then green.
Oh, I apologize. I think as far as that goes, it's quite novel without being too difficult, without having 110 components. I quite like that. I love the fact that there are essentially a male and female to every character, and there's a male and female standee to every character. So you choose to play, a wizard, a warrior, an elf, a troll, and you can be either the male or female counterpart depending on how you want. So I think that'll appeal to most things. I think certainly with children, they tend to prefer, to either, be a boy or a girl, or they might prefer the look of the female elf above the male elf, and they've got that choice now. So it has a little bit of variety. So yeah, I like the game. I think, without giving too much away here, but even the box, so if I just do it like that, the box, as we go, you can see these are our
adventures.
Our adventures. If you were to look at it from the other end, you would see that it says 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we need to collect 5 talismans by the end of the game to complete the whole adventure. So essentially, it's got a little what's that, like a score keep, so we don't forget how many stars we've accumulated over the period of time. I mean, I like the game. I think this is not a heavy gamer game. I think anybody that likes heavier, more adventurous games is going to pick holes in this game.
Well, I mean, this is a great entry point for kids to learn
Yeah.
bag building and stuff like that, and sort of engine building, and it's great little theme.
And we've played it with so Nathan is 7 and Alex is 11. So we've played it with them several times. We've played it with them playing with their friends, which added another 5 and 7-year-olds to the equation. And they all loved it. Just me telling them, kind of guiding them through the game. They played comfortably within the kind of 40-minute limit, I think it is, with no problems.
And of course, I've played a game where it's just 2 40-year-olds playing it. And that was pretty fun as well.
I think it's Dad and mine.
Yes. So this was a success for you.
I think it's a very good game. I think the artwork is lovely. I think I have played the original Talisman game, but it left such an impression that I don't actually remember it. So I don't know. I couldn't compare it. I don't know if there are original fans, whether they'd like or dislike this version of it. All I can say is that as far as I'm aware, this is nothing like the original game, and it's not trying to be. It's just basically in the world. And I think it kind of needs to be judged on its own merit. It isn't trying to be a bigger game. It isn't trying to be a complicated game. So if we're talking about family weight games, I think this ticks all of the boxes. It's not difficult. It's fun. And it does give you that kind of story element. It's a definite keeper for me. The only thing I'd say is more adventures might be nice. You know, but that is easily remedied by extra adventure packs for future. So I'd be quite keen to see where it goes next.
Cool. How about you, Alex?
I think it's good. It's not too hard and not too easy. So if it was too easy, it would just be a bit boring. If it was too hard, it would be
Frustrating.
not fun, because you'd have to do the mission over and over. This does kind of annoy me sometimes, because I want to get 3-star and everything. It's very... it hurts me sometimes.
It's Alex's OCD.
But it's still very fun, and I think I can deal with getting 2 stars.
Incidentally, if you have watched several of our videos, Alex does not have OCD. We just joke about it. Just to clarify, he does not have OCD. We are not mocking people with OCD. We just like to rib him a little bit on his habit of keeping everything straight.
It's short, sort of short. It's not long. It's like half an hour, so it's nice thing to not fill in, but just to have as a game.
It's a nice length.
Yeah.
For the type of game it is.
Yeah.
If it was any longer, I think it would overstay its welcome pretty quickly. And he's right. The gameplay is not difficult. It's very easy to play, but it is challenging. So, like, we almost died.
And we have died before. What do you think of the little quirks that they do about, you know, like finding the locations through various little quirky methods, and, you know, the story moves forward in various little interesting ways?
I find that it's quite easy once you know what you're doing. Like the first time we did it, it took me like a minute to find it, but now it just takes me a couple of seconds, because I can search it and find little clues.
So it takes you 2 seconds.
No.
A couple is 2.
The kids quite enjoy the element of, we don't know where we're going to go next, even if we have played the mission before, because it depends on certain elements coming into play, and the kids love looking at the tiles and trying to figure out where, you know, all of those elements converge.
So you like it then, Alex? Give it a verdict? A rating?
8.2.
Okay.
It's the famous 8.
How about you, Nathan?
The rating for me, just because it's very frustrating when we lose, I give it a 9.5.
All right, but you like the game though, yeah?
Yeah.
And what's your favorite bit about the game?
I guess it's like, the little circle things. I don't know what they really are, but the little circle things.
The little chits.
When you're in a battle, you try to get like the little circle things out of your bag. The right little circle things. Well, anyway.
What do you think of
like
the villains?
When you defeat the villains, you get more of them. And and the villains, some are very easy, some are very hard. The very hard ones, this is just a suggestion if you have this game, kill the hard ones first.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
So you like it, yeah?
I say it's a keeper, not a gunner.
Oh, good. All right. Well, that you can hear from them that this is a really good game. I agree. I think 100% that this is a family weight game, and you can't expect anything more. So if you don't have any family members that are non-gamers, if you like, so for example kids or gran and grams or auntie and uncles, whatever, this is the perfect type of game to play with them, because it's pretty simple, the theme is easy to get into, and it has a little bit of quirkiness to it, just enough to keep you interested. And the bag building, I love bag building, by the way. One of my favorite mechanisms is bag building, because I quite like engine building, and I like the idea of including things into your bag that'll facilitate a better turn for you in the future. That's really cool. I really like that. This is obviously very light compared to some of the other games I've played, like Orleans, Hyperborea, those type of things, automobiles. So, but this is a great way of introducing new people to bag building, with the idea that you draw out things from your bags to facilitate your actions, which is cool.
And we're working together, so there's there's no competitiveness. Even with the enemies, you know, children, especially younger children, could play this with the guidance of an adult with them. And you know, if he doesn't beat the giant spider this turn, he can move away from it. There's no damage being dealt. It's just slowing you down. You can't pass that area comfortably without stopping and fighting.
And because time is what you're fighting against rather than the villains.
Exactly that.
It's really nicely balanced for a family weight game.
Yeah.
The artwork is beautiful. The components are nice. The stories give just enough variation, I think, to the overall campaign that you're willing to play through all of them. And I think it adds a nice little quirky element to it. I would love to see some more. You know, maybe some new type of chips that you can add to your bag, because you got one bag of load of chips in here. There's about 20 odd treasures in here.
Yeah, I think 24.
And you can get through them pretty quickly. I mean, we've played a match of this where we almost emptied the bag of treasures because it was quite tough and there was a lot of enemies and that sort of stuff.
But that comes with later games, so it is quite like this particular mission is quite light on it, and it's quite a nice introduction of it. I don't think we've spoiled anything too much. You're gonna have to learn how to play the game anyway, and by doing that you're probably gonna have those elements you know, revealed to you anyway. The fun comes with it trying to accumulate enough stars to move on to the next adventure. I mean, if I had to nitpick with it, I guess the adventure boards are just cards, so they can be a little bit thin on the thin side. And again, these tiles are what there are. There is no more tiles than this, and possibly limited playability. I guess once you've played through all of the adventures, you've you've collected all of your talismans. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
You've kind of played the game now. But then
We have played missions. Oh, like this one's. This is I think the third time I've played the first mission, and even though I know where we're gonna go and what we're gonna do, it's still reasonably fun enough to play. But I wouldn't be rushing out to play the same level over and over again.
But then I think we're looking at it from an adult's perspective, whereas a child like Nathan, you know, they love the repetitiveness of certain types of games because it gives them a comfort that they know what's happening, you know, so there's a comfort in that. And I find that he quite happily plays certain things more.
I just want to bring up one last thing. I mean, roll and move is not a great mechanic in my book. But in this game, it's not a big deal because everything is reasonably close to each other. I mean, the max you can get is a 4, obviously the teleport, but max you can get a 4. And generally, you can reach something to do every turn. I mean, this particular game, Nathan rolled a couple of 1s, which meant he didn't get to do a lot on his turns throughout the game. But he still felt like he contributed because he you know, found one of the fairies, found one of the potions. So it's all good.
And of course, the treasures, you know, a person getting a treasure from their own mission might look at it and go, well, this isn't great for me, but I'll give it to Nathan. So even though he might have had 1 or 2 dud turns, he still ended up with more tokens because we shared it with him.
All right, well, I think that's us done.